job, yeah. Is this one on? Hold on.
We have all the crew that is going to be present here tonight. So I'm going to call to order the Monday, September 8th, 2025 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with an invocation given by me, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you can. This Labor Day weekend in Royal Oak welcomed almost 300,000 to 400,000 people to our downtown for Arts, Beats, and Eats. Not only was the festival a great time, it was safe and relatively uneventful. Just people having a good time with other people having a good time. If you attended the event, you saw thousands of people from all walks of life enjoying music, art, and food from all walks of life. You would never know that we were supposed to be at each other's throats. People are meant to get along. Most of us don't seek out division or conflict. Most of us want a kinder and more loving world. The divisions we see today aren't natural. They are used by a few to grab power, hijack wealth, and protect fragile egos. These few have been part of the human story since the dawn of man. We find them in our towns, at our capitals, in our companies, in our churches, and in our history books. It's important to remember that they are the few and we are the most. However, the few seem to have amplified their success in recent years. This happens from time to time. It's the duty of the most to reject the fear, lies, and hate and embrace truth, hope, and love. Sure, burning down the internet might repress some hate, but truth, hope, and love are the best antidotes to this unnatural state we find ourselves in. Remember to love thy neighbor, tell the truth, and feel hope like so many of us did 2 weekends ago. We pray for the safe return home of all those who serve our city, both in uniform and not. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have a few proclamations to do tonight. We will start with two proclamations. One proclamation designating September 2025 National Recovery Month, and another proclamation designating September 2025 National Suicide Prevention Month. And I'll ask Hillary Nussbaum to come up from the Oakland Community Health Network. We'll meet you down there by the microphone, and I'll have Commissioner Cheatham, who, I don't know if I've said it 1,000 times, is a professor of public health at Oakland University and is passionate and driven to bring that expertise to Royal Oak. Hello? Perfect, we got it.
All right.
They love you upstairs.
All right, so we'll start with this first one. The proclamation designating September 2025 as National Recovery Month. Whereas according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration 2023 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 17.1% of Americans, approximately 48.5 million people, had a substance use disorder, yet fewer than 15.6% received treatment. And whereas federal data shows overdose deaths dropped from 110,037 in 2023 to 80,391 in 2024, the lowest since 2019. And whereas Michigan reported a 34% reduction in overdose fatalities, approximately 2,931 in 2023 to 1,927 in 2024, marking the third consecutive year of decline. And whereas over 1.3 million naloxone kits have been distributed statewide, reversing nearly 24,000 overdoses. And whereas Oakland County Health Network continues to educate and raise awareness of the risks and potential harm associated with prescription drug misuse. And whereas substance use disorder recovery is a journey of healing and transformation, enabling people to live in a community of their choice while striving to achieve their full potential. And whereas recovery benefits individuals with substance use disorders by focusing on their abilities to live, work, learn, and fully participate in and contribute to society, enriching the community culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Fournier, myself, and members of the Royal Oak City Commission, on behalf of the entire Royal Oak community, do hereby proclaim September 25 as National Recovery Month and calls upon individuals, other government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit to increasing awareness and understanding of substance use and the need for appropriate and accessible services to promote recovery. Move right to the second one, right? Is the plan? Okay. The second proclamation is proclamation designating September 25 National Suicide Prevention Month. Whereas September is known as National Suicide Prevention Month and is intended to help raise awareness surrounding suicide prevention resources available in the community, and whereas World Suicide Prevention Day is observed each year on September 10th, and whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background, and whereas suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. And whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 49,000 people died by suicide in 2023. And whereas Michigan reported 1,503 deaths by suicide in 2023, with 162 of these individuals residing in Oakland County. And whereas organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness and National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988, work to help individuals in crisis and provide resources to shed light on this highly stigmatized topic. And whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. And whereas Oakland County Health Network is committed to being a zero suicide organization and cultivates a network of providers who are engaged in the zero suicide philosophy, and whereas Royal Oak supports the Oakland County Health Network's commitment to being a zero suicide organization. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Fournier and myself and members of the Royal Oak City Commission, on behalf of the entire Royal Oak community, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Royal Oak, and calls upon our individuals, other government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of suicide prevention and the need for appropriate and accessible services to assist individuals in crisis. Thank you. Okay. This is the first one, and the second, National Suicide Prevention Month. Thank you for being here and for all the work that you do.
Thank you for being here tonight.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. My name is Hillary Nussbaum. I'm the co-responder supervisor with Oakland Community Health Network. So thank you, the City Commission, for your partnership to help reduce stigma and promote awareness about the important role of National Recovery Month and National Suicide Month, along with behavioral health in the lives of the people that we serve. For those of you who are unfamiliar with OCHN, our organization is contracted by MDHHS to lead a provider service network that assists approximately 30,000 Oakland County citizens at more than 400 service sites across the county. People who receive public behavioral health services through OCHN include those who have an intellectual or developmental disability, mental health challenge, or substance use disorder. OCHN's goal is to ensure these individuals are aware of and have access to services and supports that improve their health and quality of life, as well as ensure their engagement and full community participation. A list of OCHN's service priorities that assist in attaining these goals include enhanced and expanded access to non-emergent and crisis services, improved system of care for children and families, ongoing workforce development and retention, strong service provider and community partner relations, and the successful integration of physical and mental health care coordination. With the help of community leaders like each of you, these priorities can be achieved. Your support is also key to OCHN fulfilling its mission to inspire hope, empower people, and strengthen communities. So thank you again for these proclamations.
All right. So this community has really had a good partnership with the Oakland Community Health Network, and it goes without saying how important their work is. Remember the number 988. We often hear check in on your friends and family. Make sure you take time to check in on yourself too. There's a serious problem. We've seen strides, as you heard in the data, of reducing the number of suicides, but everywhere from what we've seen with the number 22, with the veteran suicides, 22 veterans die by suicide every day in the United States, this is a serious deal. And anytime we have a podium or a platform to bring awareness, we're going to do it. And anything you can do in your podiums and your platforms to make sure that we destigmatize mental health concerns and we give people the permission they need to get help without that stigma is really important. So I'd just like to thank Hillary and the team for all the work that they do. All right, we have another proclamation tonight. Mr. Price couldn't be here, but since we're talking about rail safety and safe tracks, I'll still read it to make sure that folks know what's going on, and a little bit of a PSA here as well. We have a very active railroad track in the city of Royal Oak, especially during Arts, Beats, and Eats, during performances, which always the performers get a kick out of. So this is a proclamation designating September 15th to the 21st, 2025, Rail Safety Week in Royal Oak, C-Tracks Think Train Week. Whereas C-Tracks Think Train Week is to be held across the United States from September 15th to the 21st, 2025. And whereas 2,252 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 749 personal injuries and responsible for 268 fatalities in the United States during 2024. Whereas 1,465 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 821 pedestrians being killed and another 644 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2024. And whereas educating and informing the public rail safety and reminding the public that railroad rights of way are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the International Associations of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, Inc., United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate a national level, all aspects of railroad safety to enforce applicable laws and support National C-Tracks Think Train Week. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission, on behalf of the entire Royal Oak community, do hereby proclaim September 15th through the 21st, 2025, National C-Tracks Think Train Week in Royal Oak, and encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety education. So I can just tell you, the other day I saw somebody thinking they could cross right there on Lincoln, almost tripped on the railroad track going in between the red lights. It was very scary. So You can tell by the numbers. A lot of pedestrian train collisions occur. Please be mindful, especially in downtown Royal Oak, when you're crossing, when you see those lights, back off, grab a coffee, do something. I know sometimes a train can be a real pain in the butt. It takes a long time, but don't risk it. We want you here with us. Okay, so that brings us to item D, which is 10 from the top. Mr. Gaucho.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Viewing public, once again, we see 10 from the top pack the house. Want to begin building off some of the proclamations and just take a moment to provide some more context on the services that Hillary spoke about. And so we'll begin with the co-responder mental health team. And this is really a credit to this city commission for driving and supporting the policy, and then credit to our police department and Oakland County Health Network for being one of 4 communities that is currently working on this pilot to have co-responders, mental health experts join us in the field and co-respond with our officers in the field. It's pretty incredible. And each community, it's about $60,000 it costs, and I mentioned that because Oakland County, I give them credit as well. The commission from Oakland County did provide some seed funding in year 1. That seed funding is close to expiration. So communities, to sustain these services, are going to have to talk about how we can operationalize this, because clearly the data shows that it's a need and it's being addressed, and I think it's being addressed really well with our co-responders who are based out of our Royal Oak office. So credit to the chief and credit to OCHN for really leading here, and credit to this community for supporting it. We had a wonderful groundbreaking this morning, so this one is really fresh. This picture was this morning, but this is a project a long time coming. Corwell, I'll begin with what really impressed me. One, I didn't know what ambulatory meant. And so for your benefit, it's same-day or outpatient surgery procedures. I hadn't heard that referred to as ambulatory. So I learned something this morning as well. But 2, I also learned that this project, I think they said, was 28 years in the making. They've been talking about building this facility for quite some time. It's been a strategic priority for their board. I know they've had many changes through their acquisition, but it was a really good turnout this morning, and I think the coolest thing that I saw was the neighborhood. Corwell invited neighbors to actually come participate, break the ground with them ceremonially. So a group of neighbors behind the facility actually were invited, participated, included. And so I think that's just a credit for Corwell as a community partner, that they went just beyond the words of a meeting, and they actually invited the neighbors to participate in the celebration, which is kind of cool. Estimated opening in 2027. Building also off of that previous proclamation is National Recovery Month. Wanted just to really take a moment here to add in additional context on the police department's programming. So I asked Chief if he could give me some information on the quick response team, because I do know that we have a partnership with FAN, which is Face Addiction Now. It's a peer support nonprofit that really helps provide, I think, our officers with that a peer approach to really try to get into as an intervention strategy. And so I was struck by the statistics. I used the last full complete year in 2024, but you can see 61 visits and 31% accepted service, and that's great. And where there's not that, there's 28 Narcan boxes distributed, and I think that that's a great program to support that into the community. And I know that those are available through the police department when needed as well. So again, the police department are really just showing, contextualizing kind of the support of both of those proclamations today. The Senior Center celebration, we will be getting together Friday, September 26th to just, celebrate a small win. And I'd like all of our projects to kind of begin thinking about small wins. So often you start a project, you finish a project, then you move on to the next project. And so it's really important that we take stock of the investments we're making in our community, and we celebrate the small wins. So we are reopening that. Well, it's open, but we're celebrating the official reopen on Friday morning, and our Parks and Recreation Department will have more information about that. Dutch elm disease management program. This is something I really wanted to make sure that the public and commission were aware of. You might see, we do have a city ordinance that has our Department of Public Services regulate Dutch elm disease throughout public and private properties. So this is an annual program that occurs every fall. We have a new DPS leadership team that wanted to make sure that we're putting out community communications about this to make sure that people can be aware that you might see the city's arborist out there in our team looking for Dutch elm disease, documenting Dutch elm disease. And then if you do have one on your property, if there's one noted on the public property, our DPS will send you a notice and we'll coordinate with you on the prompt removal of that tree per the ordinance. Budget and brief. Our finance department, as part of their annual process for submitting a comprehensive financial report, submits a small budget and brief. And the purpose of this is to really just contextualize the budget into bite-sized pieces rather than have people sift through the financial statements, which are quite technical and long. So they do this every year, and this budget and brief is available on our website. You can scan that QR code to take you right there to the document. And there will be additional more contextual reports for the community's budget in the coming months as part of the financial statements process continue. You can also see an interactive version of the budget using OpenGov on the city's website for those viewing who might not have interacted with that before. And just an update on the short-term rentals progress. We have gone through 2 of 3 demonstrations with the building department and our new economic development team. I'm really impressed so far. We're seeing really how firsthand they are proactive tools that can use technology to help us really identify all the short-term rentals that are operating in the community that would be operating without licensing, and helping us notify them to make sure that they're aware of the ordinance, aware that they must be registered. So it's a really good process. I'm really excited for our building department to get this out there. So we are on track to still look at an October recommendation for the city commission, but I know that's a priority we've talked about, and we're almost to the finish line. So I appreciate that patience with that process. And finally, no, not finally, almost finally, sewer lining. This one's on tonight. This is something I just wanted to make sure that we were all aware of. It's an innovative program that is become more commonplace, but it's kind of a cool technology. In lieu of breaking the ground and ripping out sewer mains, we're able to extend the life of those sewer mains by using this technology and this approach, which is called a KIP, a cured in place piping. I am not an engineer, so I won't bother trying to break that down any more than that. But I will say, from a dollars and cents perspective, you're extending the potential life of the pipe for 50 years, and you're substantially reducing the cost of a sewer main replacement by 2 to 5 times, depending on the situation. On the right, you'll see, and this is in the agenda packet, kind of a location of all the spots we'll be using the KIP program on this year, and that's an annual program funded through the Water Fund. And finally, just an update on the culture work. Tomorrow, we will launch our Gallup Q12 survey. This is going to be a biennial process where we will be engaging our employees, really trying to make sure that we understand how we can be improving to make our culture more sticky and our organization more committed and engaged. And then we have the Beyond the Smoke event. That's in 2 weeks, where we'll be hosting a leadership summit and a team building event at City Hall for a select number of staff. And then October 14th, finally, we're having a leadership retreat where your staff are going to get together and we're going to talk about cultural values, the importance of those values, agree upon our values that really drive the conduct and how we want to approach our business. And we'll walk away with a mission statement that I'm really looking forward to applying to our work ethic moving forward. And that's 10 from the top.
All right. Any questions? Pretty good summary. Thank you for keeping us apprised of the 10 elements on our mind every meeting. Okay. All right, this brings us to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda? We have a motion by Commissioner Chisholm. Do we have a second? We have a second by Commissioner Macy. Any discussion on tonight's agenda? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. We have an agenda set. So this brings us to item 6, which is public comment. Just a reminder about the ground rules for public comment. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issue, whether or not it's on the agenda. I ask that comments be directed to the Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. The city has made it easier for you to request a follow-up on any issue or question you have at public comment by simply scanning the QR code you see displayed. Please make sure to double-check your information for accuracy, as staff may utilize it for post-meeting responses. In addition to public comment, there will be a public hearing at tonight's meeting immediately following the public comment. Same rules apply. The public hearing is regarding the vacation of an alley located at 1624 East 11 Mile Road. If you wish to speak tonight at public comment or regarding the public hearing, please wait until recognized by me. Come up to the podium, and for the record, we ask that you state your name and address. Please be mindful the City Commission wishes to hear from anyone who wants to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, not per topic, and we have a timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. There is a timer, or that 3-minute time limit does not apply to the public hearing. So you get 3 minutes for the public hearing, 3 minutes for public comment. Please note that we typically don't respond directly to questions during public comment, but we are capturing those questions and we'll bring them up when the topic is discussed. If your questions aren't related to anything on tonight's agenda, please make sure that you leave your contact information with the QR code or leave your contact information with Miss Judy Davids, right over there, the lovely Judy Davids, and she will find a way to get back the answer to the question that you asked. And if your question is rhetorical, hopefully we can infer that, and if not, let us know your question was rhetorical and not necessarily requiring an answer. So with that, who's first? Mr. Harrison.
Apparently I'm up. Bill Harrison, let me,
Yep.
there it is. Bill Harrison, Woodward Side subdivision. 2 items. The sewer lining. Several families in Woodward Side subdivision have been digging up their front lawn and replacing their sewer. It would be helpful if the city gave out or promoted sewer lining so more people are aware of it. I'm sure that, a lot of people aren't even aware of sewer lining as being an option to the expense of digging up the sewer. It reminds me I should get our subdivision to put out something. And then secondly, you talk about rail safety. Just wanted to remind you that my wife Laura, when she was a commissioner, was responsible for getting the gates on 4th Street on the sidewalk. And we went through a rash of fatalities. And it started out with killing the homeless, and then we started killing residents. And there were several fatalities. And once my wife gets on something, she doesn't let up. And sometimes that's what the railroad people need. But anyway, just wanted to give her credit for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. True story. All right. I'm going to say Ms. Wagman, you're next.
Okay. The last 3 meetings, our agendas have been very light on substance, so I'd like to offer a few suggestions to improve transparency, accountability,
I'm sorry, Mr.
and...
Mayor, I didn't catch the name there.
Oh, if you could just state your name for the record, Ms. Wagman.
Janice Wagner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to start that over then?
Yeah, we'll give you 10
Okay.
seconds back.
To offer a few suggestions to improve transparency, accountability, and move our city forward. Number 1, the Agenda Center. Again, it's still not user-friendly. Agendas often go up without attached documents, and when agendas are modified, no notices are sent out. Also, whenever requests impact the budget, please list the fund name instead of just general ledger number. It's much clearer for the public and you. ARPA spending. Again, we engaged residents extensively before allocating $28 million in ARPA funds. It's time for a public update showing what's been spent, what's changed from the original plans, how much remains, and how the balance that must be spent in 15 months will be used. Animal shelter. Again, $1.3 million was budgeted from 2 federal grants for a new animal shelter, and several options were discussed at the budget meeting. Since then, there's been silence. Residents deserve to know where this project stands. Golf course clubhouse. A facilities report shows the roof has failed, yet there's nothing in the CIP to, at a minimum, repair or replace it or build a new clubhouse. Public hearing signs. I've brought them in before. In the interest of transparency, the interim city manager approved purchasing public hearing signs for zoning cases, but they're not being installed. Where does this stand? Strategic goals. I'd also encourage publishing a simple progress chart, like a Gantt chart, tracking the commission's strategic goals. It would help you, the city manager, and the public see what's been accomplished and what's still in progress. Evaluate city initiatives. I'd like to see regular follow-up evaluations on city projects and changes to see if they're meeting the intended goals. For example, did the road diets actually reduce accidents? My analysis suggests in many areas, accidents have increased. Use counters to reveal how many people are using the bike lanes. How many residents are using the MoGo bikes that we fund? Before installing additional concrete pads at bus stops, has the $88,000 investment increased transit usage at those stops? Good intentions don't always translate into results. Like our parking system, some strategies are successful in other cities, but may not achieve the same outcomes here. By tracking real data, we can determine which initiatives are truly effective, continue what works, and reconsider what doesn't. Regular reporting on these results would greatly enhance accountability, informed decision-making. Lastly, ethics transparency. With ethics issues making headlines at the county level, it's time to strengthen our own requirements. Ethic forms should be legible by all. Any LLC ownership should disclose at least the nature of the business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Magman. All right. Anybody else wish to speak tonight at public comment? All right, we're going to close public comment, and we're going to get to item 7, which is the vacation of alley at 1624 East 11 Mile Road, and we have City Engineer Donahue with us.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight is the public hearing for consideration of vacating the public alley behind 1624 East 11 Mile Road. So that's at the southwest corner of 11 Mile and Campbell. The property is requesting that the city vacate the 16-foot wide public alley that runs between the gas station parcel here on the north side of the alley and the parking lot that's along the south side of the alley. So they're only asking to vacate the green shaded area, so half of this public alley. If vacated, the requester is planning to combine these two parcels into one larger parcel. No specific plans for developments right now, but is planning to look into doing EV chargers at this location within that parking lot area and across the alley. I'll note that the property owner that owns these two parcels also owns the parcel to the west where the Tubby's is. There are no utilities within this section of the alley, but there is a DTE pole at the very corner westernmost end of this green shaded area that has some guy wires that extend into the requested vacated area. The drafted resolution here includes language to retain the easements along the alley, so that would prevent any permanent structures from being built over top of the green shaded area. There are no staff objections to this request from the police, fire, DPS, or planning divisions. When this was first presented at the August 11th meeting, there were questions if vacating this alley would provide a general community benefit to the city, and there were concerns if we vacate it without really having a specific plan in place here. From a staff perspective, this vacation would mean one less location for us to maintain, one less location to plow or to do pothole patching. The city does not receive any transportation funding for public alleys. So all the funding that we get from the state is based on our road mileage, but we don't get anything for alleys. Yet we still use our road dollars to help with any alley improvements that we have to do or maintenance. So with that in mind, this vacation would not represent a loss of funding to the city and would basically result in less work for us, something less for us to take care of. So staff is recommending approval of the alley vacation here. There is a public hearing tonight, of course. After that is closed, there's a resolution provided for your consideration for approval, or alternately, you could also opt to deny the request here.
Okay. Questions for Engineer Donahue? No questions at this time? Commissioner Macy.
So it sounds, thank you for this presentation, it's always excellent. It sounds like you're pretty much indifferent to this, right? I mean, you don't care much about the property and it makes the city's workers' lives a tiny bit?
A tiny bit easier, a tiny bit more tax revenue, I suppose, but it's really, I agree, it's not really something that we feel strongly about either way.
Okay, and when I think about all of the alleys citywide, is this how you would feel about pretty much all of them? Like, is there?
Not necessarily. Sometimes alleys are really important to a neighborhood, for example. It provides access to a lot of garages or something else that a property needs use of it for. In this case, it's not really providing us anything. It's really just giving that property owner access to his properties, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe we'll open up the public hearing, and then we'll have the petitioner come up if they wish to. So we're going to open up the public hearing. It's officially open. Does anyone wish to speak at tonight's public hearing? Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, I find it interesting that engineering says they're going to save money by not having to maintain the alley. And I find it interesting because for years, Frank Holbrick has been trying to get the city to repair the alley behind the former Kresge building. And now I understand the city wants him to pay $4,000, and the person that owns the former Montgomery Ward building is on the hook for $40,000. It doesn't make sense. They shouldn't have to pay to maintain the alley behind their building. The other thing is, when the planning department had the gentleman from California talking about the form-based code, he kept talking about alleys. We don't want alleys behind single-family homes. It's a nightmare in Detroit, keeping the alleys clean, and it's just another burden of expense. So I don't know where this is going, but that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Anybody else wish to speak tonight at public comment for the public hearing? Yes, sir.
How you guys doing? Muhammad Ali Abdullah. So my father actually owns the station and the property to the left of it. So again, he wants to take it over to make it one parcel number, because it's just, when he pays his taxes, it's just confusing for him because the parking lot is another parcel number. And then we do want to do the EV stations. We want to cement it all around just to make it look good, you know, make it very nice. But that's really about it. You know, we do maintain it. He's owned it since '99. He pays to plow the snow. He takes me out to clean it. But that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll close public comment and bring the discussion back to this side of the table. Commissioner Hunt.
Question for the petitioner, if we could. Okay. Is that possible too?
I don't know if the petitioner is here tonight.
Oh, I thought this.
He is not, but I believe his son is here. I think he's out of town, so his son is
Okay,
here.
are you, I mean, you don't have to come up. Are you representing Your father? Like you have permission from him? Okay, then if you're willing to answer a question, you don't have to, but if you're willing to answer a question, that would be helpful. Okay, come on up to the podium, yeah?
And I apologize, he spoke on behalf of the business, so I figured and it's just a simple question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're interested in converting the area to EV chargers or adding EV chargers. Do you have a timeline for that, and do you have an idea of how many you're looking at?
So we're looking at 2 right now. They just submitted them. I mean, they said it could take between a year and a half, but just depending on when they're done to come to us, basically.
But you've started the process in
Yeah.
the event that it's
Yeah,
vacated?
we submitted it to
Okay.
DTE and everything, so.
Okay, all right, that was my only question.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Commissioner Colo?
Yes, sir. Which EV charging company are you going with?
So it's IB Electric does it. It's just, I don't know, we just kind of go through IB. It was somebody that referred us to him, and then I guess he got in contact with us, and then he told us to submit some plans to DTE. We submitted that actually, of the blueprint of the gas station, but we haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Do you have plans drawn up for the actual charging stations? where
No,
they're
no,
gonna go?
because we redid the station maybe 8 years ago, and they just said if you have the plans, just submit it, because they wanted to see the back end where the parking lot is.
Okay, and so what's the benefit to the EV that the vacated alley does? How does that help the EV process here?
It doesn't. It's just so if he does and he does get approved, he has to tear up the whole part. So the back end where the parking lot is. So he has to redo the cement anyways. So he wants to do it throughout the alley and then throughout the gas station. So he just wants it to make it all look good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay. We'll call it, stay close if we have a discussion and we need more
No
questions
problem.
answered. Thank you. All right. There's a proposal on the table. Okay, Commissioner Colo.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. I love the idea of bringing in EV charging to the city. I think we need more of it. We're at a corridor, we're at 696 and I-75. Like, EV charging belongs in Royal Oak. For this particular project, I'm very happy doing a vacation of the alley, but I'd rather see the plans presented before us, so we know that, we're ready to put shovels in the ground, that if we vacate the alley, then this project goes forward. By vacating this alley, if these parcels are combined, this is a very large block that could be opened up for multiple different developments that we now would lose control over, because there's a lot of things that by property right could go into a parcel that is that large. So we can control what is going there, what we're seeing there. And I do think an EV charging would be a community benefit on this public land. So I would want to see the plans in place, and then we could vacate at that point. So that'd be where I'm leaning towards.
Commissioner Macy.
Didn't the city engineer say that they can't put a structure on top of it?
That's correct, yeah.
So even if it's combined and they can do things that maybe are not what you want to have done there, but there is some limit. It's not giving them this huge piece of property to go to do whatever they want on, right?
I would say that it's a fair question. Maybe the point is that if you had, I'm making something up, like a different type of use there other than a petroleum service station, you could use that parking lot and that green area as additional parking or something like that, or easement into the property, and configure it in a way that, if under a different use. But if they were to put charging stations on that, yeah, that would be installing infrastructure on top of that alley. If they were to do it on the parking lot on the other side, then access to that alley might be necessary to do that, I would imagine. But you're right. But you could configure the property and use it in a different use, utilizing that space.
I was just trying to figure out what Commissioner Colo's concern was about not having the plans laid out in front of us now. Because it sounded like there was some concern about, they could do anything they want once they have it here, but it's not anything they want. It's it's still limited. And so maybe I just don't understand the concern, so.
Commissioner Colo?
Yeah, I guess closer to what the mayor is saying, if the use changes, it's not if there's a world in which this is no longer a service station, that service station is knocked down and something else is built there.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying the city has control of this piece of property right now, and if you concede it now, you have this large squared off parcel that could be transformed into something we have less control over, because that's the way the ordinances work. But if the owners right now or future owners wanted to redevelop this into something other than what it is today, then they would say, hey, I would like that alley as part of my property, and if you give it to me, I'll give you something. I will,
Provides us leverage for maybe a future negotiation.
Correct. Give you something on the property, not a quid pro quo, but like, oh, you wanted to have this or a parking lot or something. You know what I mean? I think that's what you're saying, if I understand you correctly.
You're more elegant than I am, Mr. Mayor.
Nobody ever accused me of being elegant. Okay. Commissioner Cheatham.
So I guess I was also feeling like I would like to see plans for a different reason. It's not so much about control, but my thinking was that when we're giving up city property, there should be a benefit to the community. And I think the charging stations are benefits to the community, but it's feeling, due respect to the petitioner, it's feeling a little squishy right now that we don't really have any documentation really demonstrating that that's what they want to do. And I would be much more in support of it if we were a little bit further down the pathway, or we had a little bit more documentation on what that benefit would be to the community. That's how I'm thinking about it, less about control, but more about what's the true benefit to the community. And I think that there's potential there. I think, I like what I'm hearing, but I'm just not seeing much evidence of that.
Commissioner Hunt?
I mean, I guess to be fair to the petitioner, it's kind of hard to really jump into a project and get far down the road if you don't have access or ownership of the property. I think they've demonstrated that they've started the process. Their shovels aren't in the ground yet, but they can't put shovels in the ground because the property isn't theirs yet. I mean, I guess I have to defer to the city engineer who, basically has said it would be somewhat of a benefit to the city to not necessarily have to maintain this property. And then it goes to someone who is interested in maintaining it, interested in building on it, and doing something that would be beneficial for the city. So, just my thoughts.
Commissioner Macy?
Yeah, it's interesting because I agree that I'm not really seeing this is property the city owns and we're just basically handing it over because he wants it because it's connected to his property. Sure, I see that, but I don't really see, but I have the same hesitation, what was he supposed to do? He can't, I don't even think he can draw up plans and submit them on property that's not his. So I sort of see that, and I'm a little bit relying on engineering here, and that's why I was asking, do you feel this way about all the alleys? They all could be vacated? And no, this one is one that doesn't feel like it would be important in the future to the city. So I'm pretty torn about it because it does feel like we're just handing over property without any kind of consideration in return. But the engineering, our city staff feels like there is enough consideration based on the value that they see that this property has to us now versus what it would have if it were nicely paved over and looking clean and able to accommodate EV charging. So I don't know what the right answer is. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think it's an interesting point Commissioner Hunt, Commissioner Macy brought up, because we've seen, we always, in the planning commission, you have to have interest in a property before you can even submit something. However, we would also be the bearer of providing that interest while approving at the same time. It's a unique circumstance, a unique, I'll say, interesting way to deal with that. I also don't know in terms of the challenges, what the plan is, because now if you have a situation where there isn't any covenants in terms of you're going to repair the property, you're going to cut off access, because now you have cars that for a long time presumed it was a piece of public property and now it's private property. Does that create a whole set of conditions that are unforeseen? And what is the responsibility of the owner of that property? And, so even if it's not necessarily an EV charging station thing, what are the responsibilities if we give this to you to avoid all sort of problems in the future? That's another thing that would be helpful to know. I see Commissioner Colo has his. Yes, Commissioner Colo, you've been recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you bring up the point here too. There's gyms on the corner of Wilson on the other side of this, and I think a lot of parents don't go out. At least I don't go out to 11 Mile to make a turn. I go down this alley to get to 4th Street because there's always kids running at the intersection of Wilson and Campbell. So I do think that this alley has some utility. I guess a question for Ms. Donahue: we would still have to pave the other half of this alley. I'm sorry, not pave, plow the other half of this alley, right?
Correct, yeah, DPS plows alleys only during snow emergencies.
Okay, so a truck would still, so I guess in this situation, then a truck would go halfway down the alley and then back out?
It might cost more.
Okay. That seems weird.
Commissioner Macy.
Wait, what do you do from gyms?
Look, do we have to talk about traffic laws being broken?
No,
I turn down the alley.
I understand that you have no respect for traffic laws, but
I get that from the mayor.
but I mean, gyms is on the other side of Wilson. So what?
I think what Commissioner Cole, if I understand you correctly, is saying you've observed people using the alley to either walk, ride their bike, or even drive on occasion to avoid having to walk on 11 Mile Road to get to gyms.
Instead of when you leave the gym's parking lot, turning right and then immediately left on the alley behind the Tubby's parking lot, behind the mobile to Campbell.
So I would imagine, I don't know what the numbers are, or, there's
Right.
certainly alternative routes, but I would imagine there are folks that are using that to traverse the area, but I don't know how much and what alternatives they have that would be fine. But I think your other point was you're dispatching DPS out there anyways to do maintenance, you're dispatching them out there anyways to plow in a snow emergency, and now you would just have the truck go through there, and now you're going to have the truck go in, and then you can't just push the snow up against the property line. You'd have to go in and pull it out, put it somewhere, back in and out, what actually might be more problematic than today going through, at least from a snow point of view. From a maintenance, fixing it, potholes, stuff like that, may be different. Commissioner Cheatham.
So as I often do, I have kind of a thought percolating as we're here, so I don't know how it will come out, but I'm just wondering, I hear Commissioner Hunt's point, what do developers need in hand in order to be able to develop plans? I also feel like we've heard developers come and tell us a lot of things that don't really come to fruition. I'm wondering if there is some middle ground that doesn't quite eliminate that second possibility, but the petitioner mentioned that they were working with somebody to secure these EV charging stations. Is there a possibility? Maybe this is for Mr. Gajo or Mr. Grachowski. Is there a way to have a motion in support, but with the condition that we see some of that evidence, that we know that this is sort of in the works, to just kind of give us some of that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I actually made a note that I need to look into determine whether or not state law limits our ability to require benefit to the public or the city to do a condition as part of a vacation in an alley. It's a novel question I haven't answered before. Like for certain things like PUDs, you can condition it, but for conditional rezoning, you can't. Only the petitioner. Not sure if there's similar language at all in the statute that talks about it, so I can't say I can answer it. I'm a little hesitant because I've done a number of alley vacations. They're quite common in many cities, and Generally, when you no longer find much of a public purpose for an alley, you vacate it, and each side gets half of each alley. And so, again, haven't heard that question. I'm not saying it's not possible. I need to look into it. I am a bit hesitant to say, go for it at this point. So you may want to maybe delay your decision. If that's the direction the rest of the commission is going in, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I actually have a note here written to myself to kind of look into that. And we did reserve an easement to maintain any utilities under that alley, so to build on that would be very difficult in the future, I will say. That is part of the vacation language.
Commissioner Colo?
You know, I'm just thinking back to when a preschool came before us, they had plans drawn up for what they were going to do if we vacated the alley. If we want to postpone this and the petitioner come back with rudimentary plans that show where things replace, what would go in, I think that could help alleviate some of the concerns being expressed tonight.
Commissioner Macy?
Yeah, I think postponing it, but also, I mean, it sounds like we aren't sure if we can even ask them to give us some that kind of, I mean, I guess they can provide that information, but we can't require them to give a community benefit and say no if we feel like it doesn't. So,
And there's a difference between ask and require.
Right.
So, but I need to look into that.
So I think postponing with some rudimentary plans might make sense, and then also finding out by then whether or not we really have to say yes, no matter how we like the plans.
Right, I think, and this will be interesting because, you know, I wonder what the statute says, but, you know, if there's no use for it, then you vacate it at zero cost and split it. And we've actually done that. I've been part of that process. And usually it's like in residential areas where literally, like there's not even a road or anything. It's just, you know, an alley's on the map, right? But it's not there. And that becomes a no-brainer. We're not using it. We don't see any foreseeable use. I don't know for sure that this alley isn't being used by the public to walk through, to ride their bikes through, or drive through. So I can't automatically, if that's the litmus test, to say we're not using it, okay, or that there's no public use to it. I can't say that for sure. It could be minimum, could be a lot. I don't know. I imagine people are using it. So people are using that. I believe that to be true. To what extent? So then the question is, if we say, okay, well, people are using it, there is a public purpose to it, but it makes sense to vacate it. What does that make sense part then? Then to me, regardless or independent of any statute, it makes sense, you know, in a perfect world to say, okay, well, what community benefit are we getting out of it to do this? Because there's going to be a community cost. The people that are currently traversing through there by foot, by car, by bike, whatever it may be, are going to lose that benefit. Could be 2 people, could be 20, could be 200. I don't know. So we want to be really perfect with the law. And I think we need to get those answers back, what our decision criteria is. I know in the past that decision criteria has been, well, there's no use. We agree, there's no use. You know, between 2 homes, you know, up to a cemetery or golf course or something, it's like, yeah, no one's ever gonna, you know, pave that right away. I don't know that's the case here, which gives me a little bit of uneasiness if we don't have what that litmus test is. And I've only used the one, no public use. And in this case, I can't validate that personally. So, and I don't see an immediate rush. Like if the petitioner came to us and said, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get these charging stations delivered next week unless I get this done in the next few months. You know, I don't see a sense of urgency to take that risk just yet on the litmus test we're supposed to use. And we could find ourselves getting in trouble. So maybe it does make sense to push it down or table it, postpone it, whatever the official action is, and then really recommend if there's a sense of urgency like plans or whatever that need to make this happen, because that could be there could be a community benefit element if there is a community detriment associated with it. And the detriment being, we don't know, but people are using it. I mean, I'll confess that I believe I've used that alley before. gone for a long walk and, we're trying to put our miles in and, pay calorically for that gyms, we avoid 11-mile road to walk an 11-mile. And I've used the other alleys on the other side when we go to gyms as well. We're behind where Krieger Klatt used to. So, okay, but I leave it up to the team here to make a decision or motion or. Okay, Commissioner Colo?
I make a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Okay, the motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chisholm. All right, discussion? Commissioner Hunt?
Well, I think it's more of a question of, I understand what was just stated. Is there going to be direction to staff or to the engineering department to, kind of have a little clicker out there of how many people go through there? Is that a direction that's going to be made to staff?
Yes.
I know direction's clear to legal, some of the questions
Yeah.
you want to answer. There's a practical consideration that I think was raised that I think that Commissioner Hunt's, what are we
Like, how
going
are
to
we
do to
gonna
determine
monitor?
if there's a
Correct.
public use?
What is the measure of that?
Part of me says I think it's the burden of the petitioner to try to ascertain that because they're the one making the request, right? However, the petitioner would also be biased in this case. 0 people did it. I did a study. I'm not to say you would, but it's a great question. I don't know how. I don't want to spend money to go out there and time and resources to do a clicker. It's a good question. Don't have an answer for you on my end. Commissioner Chisholm?
So generally, I'm like, yes, we need data, but, on this one, I feel like my thinking is having time to better understand the law, whether if community benefits can even be considered, because this is no doubt it's in an area where there's a lot of commercial use, there's customers going through that area, so it's there. I don't know how many people use it, but it's there and it's available for people to use, so we would be giving that up. And I guess I'm still curious about whether there is an opportunity to request community benefits, which the EV stations, I think this commission would probably, value those. So I guess I'm saying that I don't necessarily know that we need the hard numbers on how many people are using that alley, but just considering we're giving up some city property, is there a legal way to request those community benefits? And that's the question I think we need to answer between now
So
and
maybe
next.
if I interpret what you're saying,
What
to
I'm
take
trying
it
to
one
babble
step
out.
further. You're saying whether it's 1 or 20, there's probably some use there. Do we need to measure it? And given the fact that the other costs of not maintaining it have been negligible, that you're not in a good position to say nobody's using it. And if one person's using it, is that even meet the test of the negligibility of the cost you would save or whatever? I interpret I'm going one step further with another interpretation of what Commissioner Chisholm said.
I mean, I think my key thinking is like the critical element that we don't have in place here is understanding whether we even can ask community benefits, because I guess where I sit, if we can't ask community benefits, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
And if we can, and perhaps the petitioner can provide some documentation of the efforts made so far to secure those EV stations, that could all be in place, and then we would probably be in good shape at the next decision point.
Commissioner Cole.
Almost seems like it's worth it for our engineering and legal department to have a conversation about, is this a potential licensing agreement? I feel like that might benefit everyone. It sounds like that the petitioner wanted to do this to beautify the approach on his side into the alley and then on the other side. So if there's just a license agreement, so we still maintain the public use of the space, they get to put in whatever concrete cement product that they wanted with the EV charger. That might be a really easy, simple solution that covers everyone here without having to go through all this.
I mean, it did sound like there was value to the petitioner to have a bundled property, and I can understand that too. So, I mean, I'm personally okay with tabling for now, proceeding and seeing where we're at the next time, where I think some points could be a little bit more clear.
Yeah, I'll just add, if I own the parcel, I do the exact same thing, right? And that whole parcel could be something really cool someday, that serves a better purpose for the owner and for the community. I mean, we need fueling stations in Royal Oak, don't get me wrong, but, they may decide, hey, we can do something really different here. But I can't rely on the complete, test that there's no public benefit or use to that alley. That's the only thing that's getting me. So the only thing I could do to eradicate that is to look at, is there a trade-off, a net community benefit? And I think that's the answer. Commissioner Cheatham is right that we need to get to. Good? Everybody understand the motion? All right. The motion is to just postpone indefinitely, which means that we don't have to bring this back week to week, but we get an answer from our legal team. We get the petitioner to pull plans together if they want to do that. And when everything seems to be ready, come in front of us. But it's not, indefinitely isn't a bad thing. It just means we're not pushing off week to week to week. When everything's ready to go, we can come back. All right, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 Those opposed? No. Motion passes. All right. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off tonight's consent agenda? Looking down here. Looking down here. Nobody wants to pull anything off tonight's consent agenda. Okay, does anybody wish to make a motion on tonight's consent agenda? Commissioner Macy makes a motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion on the consent agenda. All right, with none. All those in favor say aye. 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 Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. That brings us to item 9, which is the approval of contract modification to contract S 24002 for 2024 sewer lining. Engineer Donahue, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So this item tonight is a contract modification request to extend the services of our contractor In Situ Forms Technologies to continue sewer lining improvements throughout the city for our 2025 program. And so that, as Mr. Gaucho showed earlier, it's 27 different locations throughout our city this year. And so we thought it might be interesting to highlight this as a project that we do very regularly that a lot of people probably don't know much about. So it'll be a quick 5-minute lesson, and then we can get into discussion. So this is a program we've run here in the city since the late 1980s. Technology has improved over the years, and something that we do really consistently every single year. Engineering has a program to clean and televise our combined and our sanitary sewers throughout the city. We do that on a 10-year cycle to get through our entire city, and we use that information to tell us what sewers can we line, what sewers need to be root treated, what do we need to dig up and fix. So we really rely on that data to inform this program for the following year. Not every sewer is a good candidate for lining. Any serious structural issues or failing pipe sections do have to be repaired before we could even talk about lining it. But in general, I have a few images here just to kind of illustrate what cured in place pipe, or CIPP, it's not called KIP in the industry, CIPP, what it looks like and what we're doing here. So we insert a flexible resin impregnated liner into the pipe, and that's kind of demonstrated here on the bottom image. And then you use very hot water or steam to expand and push that liner against the host pipe, and then you let that cure. So it usually takes 2 to 6 hours for a section of pipe to cure within the pipe. Once that's done, my favorite part is there's a robotic machine that walks along and cuts holes for everybody's lateral sewer lines so that they can start servicing each home once the work is done there. The liner, once it's done, is only about 6 millimeters thick, so you have a very nice, smooth, continuous sewer line. You no longer have joints that roots are going to be growing into your sewer and causing issues in the future. So instead of this picture on the left full of roots and debris and buildup, you instead have a much more open pipe. So we're often improving flow, even though the diameter is a little bit smaller than it used to be. CIPP methods are a cost-effective way to improve sewers, and they're a really fast way to do it. It's very difficult to do a direct comparison between lining a pipe and doing total replacement of a pipe. But just using some general assumptions about a project here in Royal Oak, what it would look like, I came up with it costing 5 times more to replace a small diameter sewer compared to just lining that sewer. As you get bigger in sewer diameter, the cost difference is smaller. It's more like double the cost when you have large diameter sewers and you need to line them versus replacing them. Additionally, the lining work, we do this in one day. So we fix a pipe segment in one day and we're out of your neighborhood, and all you're really seeing is a truck up on the road. Maybe one lane is closed. Whereas if we had to dig up a pipe, that's often 3 to 4 weeks where we're disturbing everybody in the neighborhood and creating a bit of a mess as well. CIPP lining can extend the service life of a sewer 50 to 100 years. Kind of depends on what's flowing in that sewer. That's going to break down that liner over time. But that's a huge improvement on the service life of all of our sewers here. I did provide a GIS map here on the screen just to show what we've done so far over the past few decades. Sure, yeah. So we've done a lot, but there's a lot of the city that we haven't done yet. Doesn't mean that we need to fix every single sewer or line every single sewer. But I think it really illustrates, look at all these things we might have had to fix had we not lined it over time. So this is a really important program. I'm very excited that we get to do this every year and something we consistently budget for. We awarded the most recent contract for this last year in 2024 to in situ form. We used the responsible contractor ordinance, and in addition to receiving the highest score from the bidders, this contractor was also the low bid. So they were about 11% under what we had estimated for the project and $180,000 less than the next bidder. So we felt really comfortable with going with their prices again for the 2025 season. Had a really good experience working with them this past year, and so we're recommending award of this contract extension. It's just a touch under $750,000.
All right, well, Engineer Donahue lined that one up for questions. Commissioner Macy.
I feel like you can do better than that with sewers.
Come on, are my jokes going down the drain lately?
So there we go. No.
Sewer me.
So on the map, I think that map sort of answers my question about this map. But on the map that shows what you're going to be doing, there's like little itty bitty red, so it's just like a third of a block of a street that might be done.
Right. We typically will line from manhole to manhole, and manholes are usually spaced 300 to 600 feet apart. So on a map at this scale, it does look very tiny, but it's a couple hundred feet at least that we're doing. You can do short segments in between manholes, but we will rarely do that. We really just want to do one whole line so we know we're good to go for the future.
Okay, so, all right, that's interesting. So these little things indicate manhole to manhole. So when you look above or to one side of one, do you eventually do that manhole to the next manhole?
Can you say that again?
Are all of the pipes on the list, for eventually?
No, they're not.
Okay.
So some pipes are in good condition, so you don't want to invest in it just yet. You just continue to watch it. That's why we cycle through the city every 10 years. So maybe in 100 years, we'll have lined every sewer. And like I said, some sewers just, for example, they may oval over time due to the overburden pressure of the soils, and those are not good candidates to line. Those eventually, once they start failing, you'll want to replace those. Sometimes you have inconsistent materials or inconsistent diameters, and this liner does not do a great job of if it goes from a 24-inch to an 18-inch with no manhole, it doesn't accommodate that very well. So there's a few reasons why you may skip certain segments. But in general, we televise, we look for the worst spots and the stuff that we think might fail in the near future, and we want to get those first as a high priority. We also really want to focus on our rear yard sewers. So a lot of our residential neighborhoods have the sewers in their backyard and easements, which is awful to have to go dig up because there's garages and power lines and you're disturbing people's patio areas. So we want to line those so that we definitely don't have to dig those. So we try and put those in our program every year as well.
And how often do you televise?
We're on a 10-year cycle to get through the city.
All right. And does this help my house? It's my house pipe at all?
No. Okay. It doesn't. It makes sure that our sewer is less likely to back up, right? There's not debris and garbage in there that could cause it to back up into your house. But if you have some issue with your own private sewer lead, you could line it, as was mentioned there before. If it's a candidate, if you have a ton of roots, which a lot of people do, it's often too difficult. That pipe is so old, as soon as you try to get all those roots out, you might break it. So a lot of people do have to dig up and fix their own lateral sewers. But lining is something to pursue as an option at least.
Okay. You may remember that I think this was actually already done at my house
I do
because
remember.
I smelled it.
Yes.
Because I have a dry capped whatever for my renovation, like whatever. It smelled terrible.
Yes.
How far does the letter go in terms, like what's the radius for the informational for the household?
I believe we go 2 blocks beyond. I'll have to like double check that for sure. But I know that like the calls have gone down. So I think we're notifying a good enough radius where people at least know what's going on. They might still be concerned or have questions, but they at least know what's going on.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You made the point that said that our sewers can extend their life by 50 to 100 years. In that time, how does this affect maintenance costs? Does it, because of that, I would imagine because of that length of life, like whatever routine maintenance we're doing, I mean, we always will do inspections. Does this reduce our operating costs, not just our capital costs?
That's a good point. It does. Because like I said, we're not going to be having all that root infiltration. We're not going to have collapsed sewer segments to go fix. Cleaning these is much simpler than you might just have a little buildup in there. So it should help out in the long run, yes.
Okay, great. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you. A few things I want to flush out. Okay, number 1. No one? Okay.
I laughed.
Thank
I thought
you.
it was pretty good.
Number 1, yeah. So I do have a quick question about the map that you provided in the packet. There's a couple of dark black lines
This map? Or the first map?
in the packet. I think it's the 3rd attachment.
I'm trying to remember what I gave you.
It's this year's service area.
Okay. Okay, so what's the question?
What are those lines?
I think what's showing up like really dark black, they look like call outs to like street names, like over by Beverly Court,
Oh, okay.
Greenfield. Is that maybe? I think just because it's such a small scale, to
Gotcha.
print this at a letter, it didn't plot great.
Okay. And then 2, so when you're performing this work, does it takes a day to do? Where does the sewage go for the rest of the neighborhood in that day?
So we ask the residents on the street, we let them know when it's coming, they get a door hanger for the day, and we say, can you minimize, like, please don't run your dishwasher, don't run your laundry today. Minimize flushing as much as you can. There's like some storage in the line, so, and generally it works really well. And our guys, they won't leave until it's done. So we've been out there till 2 a.m. Some nights because it takes longer to cure, or they're having a hard time getting the services to open up, whatever it is. But they know that like there's only so much time you can not let people use water and flush in their house. And so that's why we really prioritize getting in and out in one day.
Okay, so it can't divert somewhere else around the city. Like it's just, we try to stop using the sewer system in that area for the
Right,
time.
because otherwise you'd have to find a way to pipe everybody's individual waste,
Yeah.
which is, you might as well just replace the sewer at that point.
hear you.
So.
Great, thank you so much.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hunt?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hunt. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. All right, any discussion on this topic of sewer lining? Commissioner Macy.
Just briefly want to thank the city engineer and the city manager for bringing this forward. This is the kind of thing we wouldn't necessarily see and talk about, but it is fascinating, so thank you.
Anybody else? I agree, and I think people misunderstand or underrepresent the amount of innovation and work that communities are doing to benefit residents. And literally, it's all underground in this case. And so we appreciate your department, Ms. Donahue, and all the work that you do. And, you know, this is just one of many innovations we look at, whether it's with street design, road design, park design. We're continuing to use evidence-based approaches to manage the city accordingly. So grateful for that sort of cultural mentality within the city department. So thank you. All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, now we've reached the end of our agenda, notwithstanding anything to further improve quality of life for the residents in the city we love. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Commissioner Herzog to adjourn. She can't hide her joy and excitement too much on this motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hahn. All righty. Any discussion? All right. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Adjourned.